So first of all, a warm welcome to everyone from YDMA. And as you might know, YDMA, or Young Digital Managers Association, is an initiative of CIO Association of India. And it's the objective of the association, YDMA, is to develop future technology leaders for India. And the members are those who are one step away from becoming CIOs themselves. And over the next few years, they'll be holding the reins of technology function in companies in India, both mid-size and large. So this initiative is important, it's very strategic, not just for the members, but for the country as a whole. And we hope to play a role through various formats, such as sessions like these, where we invite the leaders who've been ahead of the future leaders in their journey, and who can share their insights with the future crop of leaders, and also through many other formats. So, for example, YDMA has launched a certificate course with the All India Management Association on digital transformation, and several YDMA members have joined that course. There'll be many more such initiatives going forward, and I'm hoping that all of you will continue to stay engaged. The session today is part of the Leadership Lesson Series that we launched about 3 months back. In the first iteration, we invited Mr. Manoj Kohli, who's the former CEO of Bharti Airtel. Then we had one other session with Manoj from EMC and many other companies who led these companies in India and in Asia. And in this edition, I'm very pleased to welcome Vijay Sethi, a dear friend and colleague for many, many years. I have known Vijay for about at least 20 years, if not more, and have enormously benefited from his support, contribution, and his insights. I'm sure all of you have interacted with Vijay or heard him speak at one forum or the other. But for the sake of record, he's been a CIO and an HR leader, and also a CSR leader. And in all these three domains, he's got multiple awards and recognition from various fora in India and otherwise. Vijay was CIO and HR head for Hero MotoCorp, which began his life as Hero Honda long back. And he led both these functions as well as CSR in the company for many years. And after Hero Honda, he set up MentorCard, which is a new age job tech and mentorship company with a mission to mentor the future leaders of tomorrow. And he's the chairman of that firm. Additionally, he's on boards of several startups and other kinds of organizations, including those in cybersecurity and various other fields. So Vijay, a warm welcome to you on this forum.
Thank you, Punam.
We look forward to hearing insights from your leadership journey. And so we'll invite you to speak with the presentation that we prepared for about 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and then we'll open up for Q&A. But for the audience, if you have any questions while Vijay is presenting, please type them in the chat space, and I'll pick them up after Vijay stops presenting, and I'll ask those questions on your behalf. So with that, Vijay, I'll hand over the floor to you for your presentation, and then we'll open up. So
Thank you, Punam. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure meeting you and talking to you, listening a lot of things from you, and gaining a lot of knowledge. I remember having gained so many things from you over the years. So thank you very much for inviting me, and a very good afternoon to you, to all the participants. In the list of participants, as I was seeing, I could see a lot of friends out there. So happy to see all the friends over there in the list. So thank you very much. So as Punam, you said, next 15-20 minutes, let me just share the topic that you told me, that leadership lessons in this digital age. So let me see if it works here. So let me start with first thanking you, thanking Umesh, Abhishek, the entire YDMA team for inviting me. It's an honor to be part of this session today and sharing my thoughts on a topic which to me is very dear to my own heart. So thank you very much to all of you for this thing. So as I see, what the objective is that we know that the world is changing from a technology perspective so fast. I'm not talking of all other changes that are happening globally, but even from a technology perspective, things are changing so fast. Now, the people on this call, the IT leaders, the would-be IT leaders, for me, everyone is an IT leader, irrespective of whether you're an application head, you're a software development head, you're an infrastructure lead, you're a CIO, CTO, or any other position. So each one of them, each one of you is an IT leader. So how, as IT leaders, we ensure that our organizations in this real fast changing world, and if you really look back 2 years, many of the technologies that are there today, no one had even imagined those 2 years back. So in this kind of rapidly changing environment, our organizations not only survive, because we know that a lot of organizations do not survive, and there are so many case studies about companies not surviving, but we want our companies to thrive. And also in doing all this, we want ourselves to thrive. We want to grow professionally. We can't be just sitting over there, and that's the objective. Spanav, a quick check before I move on. You can hear me well and you can see the slides changing well?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, perfect. So that's why I just wanted to reconfirm. So Pranav, as you said, let me share thoughts on these three topics. One is that as IT leaders, we are expected to drive large-scale transformations. So there could be projects, whether on AI, without AI, ERPs, without ERPs, CRMs, any other things. So how does one drive large-scale transformations? And in doing all this, how do we build high-performance culture in our own teams? And while we are doing all this from a personal perspective, how do we fuel our professional growth? So when I was looking at these 3 points, my thought was that instead of going in that order, let's reverse the order, because at the end of the day, the reality is it's an individual who has to drive the growth, an individual who has to ensure that the transformation is there. So which is the individual that you... So let's start with the third piece and then we'll come to the others. So start with professional growth. So over next 15 minutes, what I'll do is for each of these 3 areas, I'll share 4 mantras each with you, and then we can have a discussion. In case you want to have a discussion in between, I'll leave it to Pranav to decide. But otherwise, I'll prefer that we have a discussion at the end. Okay. So first is, let's look at each individual. Each one of us wants to accelerate our professional growth. Each one of us wants to go to a very different level. If I'm an application head, I want to be maybe a CTO, maybe a CIO, a global CIO, move on to various other locations, become a CEO, whatever it may be. So each one of us wants to accelerate our professional growth, and the person who has to really put in efforts for accelerating this professional growth is we ourselves. Nobody else would put effort. So I'll share 4 mantras with you. The first one is we need to regularly update our knowledge. Because as I said earlier, the technology is changing so fast. And I was reading today morning, I think there's a company which said in the morning that even in their cars now they are integrating, a Chinese company which are integrating the DeepSeek right into the car at that stage. So we know that the pace at which the technology is changing so fast that you, if you want your professional growth, you need to really, really upgrade yourself, because the fact is what got us here will not get us there. The technology, whatever we have learned over years, whatever experience we carry, whatever we know, maybe it is good. I'm not saying it's bad. That's why we have reached this level. But as we move forward, many of these things may not be relevant. And that's why we need to really update ourselves. And over there, my thought is that a lot of us think that what we did yesterday would be sufficient for tomorrow. But to me, it's an arrogance of success. Because we have been successful, because we have reached a particular level, we think that we know, I'm Bhagwan hai, so we know everything. So no one needs to tell us anything. But the reality is what got you here will not get you there. So we need to upgrade. And as they say, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance. So I don't know anything. That's not the greatest enemy, but it's an illusion of knowledge that, yes, I know everything. Who the hell is anyone else who can come? And because I've been at this position for last few years, so I know everything about this subject. So that becomes the greatest enemy of our knowledge. So as I see from knowledge perspective, the key is very simple from my perspective, which is keep educating yourself. Don't really stop education. And today, the amount of the areas from where you can get education, online courses, offline courses, all other things on internet. So you can have so many avenues and opportunities. So it's really nice, and you can keep educating yourself. Coming to a second mantra. Now, I'm not at hard work, smart work. All of us know that. But for me, it's important that if you really want to grow professionally a lot, your work ethics have to be very, very strong. When I say work ethics, basically it means that how do you really think and act towards your job? It's a set of values that come with the work. So it's not just about that I put in 8 hours of work or I put in 18 hours a day. That's not work ethics. Work ethics is how you are acting towards job. Because the reality is work ethics is in our control. There are a lot of things which are not in our control, but work ethics is in the individual control. I know what my work ethics are or can be. And that's where we need to focus, because we can say someone is not very intelligent, someone is not very athletic, or doesn't have good charisma, but these are natural attributes to a large extent. But work ethic is something that each one of us can really change our work ethics in a big way. Work ethics could be taking initiatives, being focused, being committed, being accountable, responsible. Am I goal-oriented? Do I cooperate with other people? Am I dependable? So those kind of work ethics are very, very important if you want to grow professionally. Otherwise, the growth really becomes very slow. Looking at the third one. Now, third one is very important from one perspective, that our attitude has always to be positive. We know that we face so many issues, especially in IT. Users are not telling this, boss is not approving this, the vendor is not responding, vendor has put in people who do not know anything, my team doesn't know. So we can always have reasons and always have a negative attitude towards everyone. But the reality is, if you want a professional growth, you need to have a very, very positive attitude, because you can control your own attitude. As I said, you can control your work ethic. You can also control your own work attitude about anything. Because when you talk to anyone, when you discuss with anyone, you think that people are really hearing your words, what you are trying to say. But the reality is they are feeling your attitude. Banda matlab, is the person positive? Yeah, theek hai, chal raha hai. That really ensures that whether you will grow, not grow, professionally grow, those people who have a positive attitude towards life would really grow. Because as they say, bad attitude is nothing but it's like a flat tire. You don't change it. You have a tire, you have a car, everything is fine, but it's flat tire. You can't go anywhere. And that's the problem with the bad attitude. So you have all the positions, you have all the opportunities, but you can't move forward. You can't really have that kind of professional growth in case you have a bad attitude. And the fourth mantra from the first set is, which for me is the most important one, that is that each one of us, if we want to accelerate our professional growth, needs to have very, very strong foundational principles. So when I talk about strong foundational principles, I'll just talk about 4. There could be many from individual's perspective, but from my perspective, since the fourth mantra, I just wanted to keep it at 4 in this. Respect. All of us need to respect others, respect our juniors. There are a lot of people who would respect their seniors, who will respect the position, who will respect all that. But do we respect our team members? Do we respect our vendors? Do we respect our juniors? So if we can respect everyone, that really helps in our own professional growth, because as I'll tell you as I move forward, that will help that people really start trusting you, they start working with you. The second is humility. This, what I have unfortunately seen in a lot of people, especially in IT, is that this is a trait which is missing. So there are a lot of people who tend to become arrogant, and that becomes an issue. Empathy is the third one. Again, empathy is where you really not just think about yourself, but kind of put yourself in the shoes of others, and over there see what the other person, whether it is your user, whether it is your colleague, whether it is your senior, whether it is your junior, what they are going through. If you can really understand that. And finally, integrity. That's perhaps the biggest one. So when we treat others with respect, we create real positive interactions. And that is something where people would like to work with us. When people work with us, we will really be able to deliver more. And that's where our professional growth will really happen. Similarly, if we are humble and not arrogant, people would like to talk to us. They will feel valued. They will feel that, yes, this is one guy whom I want to work with. That fosters trust and mutual respect. And once that respect starts coming in, your own professional growth, because there will be so many people who will be helping in ensuring that you grow professionally. And when I talk of humility, it is not thinking less of yourself. मैं humble हूँ, लोगों के पैरों में गिरता हूँ. It's not about that. It is about that you're not really thinking of yourself. It's not about I, me, myself. You are thinking of others also, and that arrogance part is not there. And the second advantage of being humble is that you remain teachable. When you're talking to someone, when you want to know more, if you are humble, you will be able to gain knowledge. Otherwise, you'll say that I am kind of God's gift to mankind. Who can really tell me anything? So that's where humility really plays a huge role. Empathy, all of us know that when you have empathy, when you demonstrate empathy with people, they really feel valued. And that again builds trust, and you can grow. And finally, but the most important for me is, if you are unethical, then you can never grow professionally. You have to be honest and have huge amount of integrity. And integrity, as I see, is choosing your thoughts and actions based on values rather than personal gains. So that's what we need to do. If you want to grow professionally, you can't be really thinking of your personal gains, but you have to have your own set of values, and all your actions have to be linked to those values. Because one of the points that helps you in professional growth is your professional reputation. And integrity plays a huge role in building your professional reputation. All of you are at some levels where you want to grow further. Your reputation, how people think about you, what people think about you, what your own seniors think about you, that's the professional reputation that's there, and that's where integrity plays a huge role. Coming to the second one. So we have spoken about ourselves. Now let's move on to our teams. So we want to move and build high performance culture in our teams. I again will give you 4 very simple mantras, 4 things that we should do to. I have, based on my own experience over last 20-25 years, built some of those teams which have really performed at a level which most of the organizations can't even imagine. And based on my learnings, I'm giving you 4 things. First, you have to focus on team development and team bonding. It cannot be that in your team you have a group of highly skilled people, but they do not bond well, or there are a lot of people who have been working, but you do not really care about their development. You just care about your own professional development. So then that team will never be a high performance team, because high performance is not achieved by individuals working in silos. There has to be a huge amount of bonding, and that's where, as a leader, you need to invest in team development so that people really work at a very different level. For that, let me just give you a couple of things that you can do. One, from skill gap perspective, please focus on addressing the skill gaps within teams. No teams start with the highest levels of skill and knowledge. So you need to look at, and when people think that my boss is really doing something to address my skill gaps, they will feel so valued that your entire culture becomes a high performance culture. Second, in a lot of teams, I've seen that there's not much clarity about roles and responsibilities. There's a lot of overlaps. People are not very clear. Boss feels that we should do this, he should do this, she should do this, but there's no formal clarity. So if you want a team to be highly performance oriented, you need to ensure that there's a full clarity among the roles. And third, there's always team dynamics. At the end of the day, everyone is a human being, so there'll be conflicts. So you as a leader, if you want your team to be high performance, please pay attention to them. If there are any conflicts, please resolve them. If there are team dynamics, you feel that they are hampering the growth, please don't put them under the carpet and address them right up front. Second, a team has to be empowered. If they have to be a high performance team, you have to build a high performance culture. Team has to be empowered. It should not happen that for everything, sir, can I put a comma, full stop in this particular document? Sir, should I make a PPT out of it or a PDF out of it? You can't really. Then they are not a high performance team, but they are just someone who are doers. But if you have to build a real high performance culture, you need to empower your teams. And so that they can take ownership, they can make decisions, and then they can leverage. When you actually lead people with that you take your decisions, there are a lot of times I've seen that they come up with much better decisions than any one of us would have even imagined. So empower the teams, allow them to take ownership, take decisions, and that's how we need to really do that. This also fosters a lot of innovation and agility and a sense of responsibility in the teams. So what you need to do is, number one, provide the teams with necessary resources. If, for example, many years back, maybe 7, 8 years back, when I wanted to do something, we actually created a lot of COEs within the company, including COEs on IoT and robotics and various other areas. Wanted to give the team the necessary resources. And of course, many people were sent to various courses, so the information, knowledge, so that in the role, they can really succeed. And second is, when you empower, there has to be clear accountability. It is not that you're just leaving them that, okay, you are empowered, you do anything. No. They are also accountable for results. A high performance culture, high performance team is a team which really delivers. So you need to ensure that you empower those guys with very, very clear accountability for results. Third mantra. Now, this I have seen with a lot of leaders as they grow, they really stop communicating with their teams. They think that morning when they are coming, they have just said a good morning, someone said good morning, they responded back. That's more enough and more communication. Once in a month, once in 15 days, I just meet them, or in any review meeting, if they come, I have met them. They do not have real regular communication with their team. If you don't have a real regular communication with a team, your team will never be a high performance team. You need to have a consistent, transparent communication so that everybody is on the same page. People could be facing challenges, there could be other stuff, there could be problems with the projects, there could be problems within the team. So you need to have consistent to doing regularly. You can put a thing that, okay, every week, Monday, Friday, whatever, I'll meet you for 30 minutes, 20 minutes. That really fosters alignment. Everyone is then aligned and everyone comes on the same page, reduces misunderstanding, and that's a bedrock of having a high performance team. And for that, you can use different communication channels. It's not just about sending an email you can have a cup of tea with them on a monthly basis. You can go out, you can have meeting within your own meeting room. So you decide what suits your organization, but do that very, very consistently. And in that, I think one thing that many leaders need to keep in mind when they have this communication is a mistake that make, and you should avoid that, which is you need to encourage active listening. Those meetings are not for your Gyan, they are not your Gyan sessions that you go and it's a 45 minutes meeting, 44 minutes and 48 seconds you speak, and then for last 12 seconds you say, Acha batao kya kaam hai. By the time you say that, oh, the meeting is over. So you need to encourage active listening and also get feedback from team members. And in these meetings, be as transparent as possible. Don't because if you are not transparent, your team will really understand. They are smart people. They will understand. And then you can never really build a high performance culture. And the fourth and the last in this set would be team. If you really want a team to be high performance, you as leader need to provide psychological safety. What do I mean by psychological safety? Which basically means that individuals should feel safe to voice their ideas. They shouldn't feel that if I have said something, the boss will feel bad, my appraisal would be impacted, my this year's promotion would be impacted, increment would be impacted, I would be asked to move out, any of those. So people should feel safe to voice their ideas, ask questions. If I have made a mistake, I should have enough courage that yes, I go back to my boss and say that, boss, I have done this mistake. And that's the culture that you really need to. And when you put in that kind of culture, people are really going to give their 200% and make it really, really high performance team. And for that, you must personally, if you want that culture, you must personally actively demonstrate openness to feedback. It's not that if people are giving you feedback, you actually kind of every other day, अच्छा तूने उस दिन ये बोला था. That means you are not really open to feedback. You have just taken many of those things personally, and that becomes an attitude. Or you get into a blaming approach that, okay, no, I did, and because you did this, and then people will stop giving you feedback, and then that culture really doesn't remain a high performance culture. So you must actively demonstrate openness to feedback, a non-blaming, and also in all this, you need to foster a real inclusive environment where diverse. So it's not that only I'll respect those people who agree to my views. Actually, I would, if I want a high performance culture, I should encourage those kind of people whose aim is only to question, and they can actually give very, very diverse perspectives, so they are valued. And the third thing is, in this, if you want a high performance, you really have to have a culture where feedback is seen as an opportunity for growth and not for punishment. So if anyone is giving you feedback, it is for the growth of an individual, for your growth or any such thing, and not that the guy who's given a feedback is punished. So these are the 4 mantras as far as building a high performance culture. And now let's move on to the last part, which is driving large scale digital transformation. As IT leaders, we need to drive a lot of large scale digital transformations. And now with almost all the leaders, all the business leaders really pushing for, what are you doing on digital transformation? What are you doing on AI? What are you doing on this area? How are we utilizing 3D printing? Are we doing something on IoT? So all those questions are coming, and companies are looking at the real large-scale digital transformations. Again, I'll give you 4 simple mantras out here that you need to take care if you really want to drive very, very successful. I have driven a lot of successful large-scale digital transformation. So based on that, again, let me share 4 mantras or 4 tips. 1, have a very strategic vision. Large-scale digital transformation projects are not tactical. They are not for just few weeks, few months, but the impact of these would remain in the organization for years and years to come. And that's where you as a leader, if you want to drive large-scale digital transformation, you have to have a real compelling strategic vision on this, which would be the foundation for any such transformation. You need to provide direction. And in all this, remember, any large-scale transformation is not an IT project only. There'll be many, many stakeholders, some within the company, some outside the company. So you need to align all these stakeholders, and it will involve a lot of investment. So you need to justify, and that's where, if your strategic vision is clear, that helps a lot. So a couple of things that you can do over there is, first, when you create this vision, please clearly articulate, write it on a paper. Nahi, mere dimag mein hai, I think this way. No, when you start writing, when you start putting it on a slide, you will start refining and thinking, no, this is not happening. You'll get a lot of ideas on that. Second, it can't be a IT jargon. It has to be easily understood by anyone in the organization, and something which can be consistently communicated across the entire organization. It's not just for IT. It is not for those people who really understand that particular technology. But a strategic vision is more of a business vision, where that if I am doing this digital transformation, large-scale digital transformation, this is how it is going to change the organization. So that has to be consistently communicated across the entire organization. And when you do this, remember, the vision is not for a large-scale digital transformation. The vision is not the IT vision, but it has to have very, very tangible business outcomes. You can't really be saying that, no, my performance would go up, my CPUs would go up. That really doesn't help. It has to be tied to very tangible business outcomes. And a large-scale project, as I said earlier, is not a short-term project. So the vision needs to have a long-term perspective. You need to anticipate the future trends and needs. And when you do this, ensure your buy-in from all the concerned people. And as a leader, if you really want to drive a digital transformation, large-scale digital transformation, if you do not get a buy-in, if there's no strategic vision, it's not tied up to business outcomes, doesn't have a long-term perspective, or is not aligned with the vision of your leadership and other stakeholders, your project is surely going to fail in case it starts. Chances are it may not even start. So that's the first step. Coming to the second mantra, if you have to drive a large-scale digital transformation, the approach has to be an agile and adaptive. You cannot say that what I said right in the beginning is cast in stone. It will not be changed because the world is changing so fast. People wanted to do a lot of stuff with OpenAI. Suddenly DeepSeek came. It changed the entire world. After that, so many other things have happened today. So, lot other things. So, people thought that A Gen AI could be good. Suddenly agentic AI came. People thought agentic AI is good. Suddenly a RAG came. So now people are thinking, how do I combine all this? So you can't really have a fixated approach. So you need to have an agile approach and have to be very adaptive that as things change, can I adapt? Because all these large scale digital transformations would be complex. There'll be a high degree of uncertainty, one within the business, because business is getting changed, impacted on a daily basis. And secondly, technology is getting changed on a daily basis. And that's where an agile and adaptive approach will allow flexibility and course correction. So a couple of things that you can do is, number one, don't kind of, as they say, don't bite the entire elephant in one go. Take it in small chunks. So break down the transformation into smaller, manageable increments. But in all this, please keep frequent feedback loops. Get a feedback so that in case you need to really do a course correction, you can do it. And also, mentally, as a leader, you have to be prepared to adapt plans, prioritize, change your things based on whatever your learnings, the technological advancements, business needs, anything that's happening. So you should not be, no, when I first presented to the board, I showed this particular plan and these deliverables. Now I'll stick to that. The world has changed. You might have to go back to board or anyone else and say that because of these reasons, I'm doing that. But first you have to be convinced yourself, and that's where you need to be prepared to adapt your plans. And finally, in your own mindset, please embrace a mindset of continuous learning, because as you go through this digital transformation, large-scale digital transformations, there'll be a lot of learnings that would happen at your end also. So you need to have a mindset. Third is, when you do this, you have implemented, but if people are not going to use it, large-scale digital transformations are also one of the key pillars is that the company is moving to a data-driven decision-making. It is not a gut-based decision-making that I've been with the company for so many weeks, months, years. I have so many years of experience. I know I don't care about data. Then it's not digital transformation. There's a simple automation. You might give me some reports, but it doesn't help from a digital transformation perspective. So if you want to really drive large-scale digital transformation, you need to build a culture of really data-based decision-making. You need to ensure that people start relying on data rather than intuition. And that's the culture change that you need to really bring in. And for that, first, you need to focus on data literacy across the organization. You need to go and tell people as to what data really means for them. You have to empower employees to understand to use data in their roles. Each role, what role the data can play. And that's a huge exercise. Most of the, I won't say most, maybe a lot of organizations actually fail. So they do very good, nice projects. You feel happy for first 1 month, you have gone live. But after that, you see that people are not really utilizing the power of that digital transformation because they are not going back to a database, data-driven decision-making. And that becomes a major challenge. So you need to also invest in data infrastructure. What I've seen is that people really, there are times when you build in all these digital transformation projects, but then you say, no, Power BI reports would come after this. We are thinking of a data lake. We are doing this. You don't really invest in the necessary data infrastructure or the tools. And that becomes a major issue. And the third, when you are doing these projects, please ensure that you put in clear metrics and KPIs to track the progress. Are people really starting using these projects or not? Otherwise, after a few months, people will just forget and you'll also move on. And then, yes, there was a time when this project was done and that's the end of it. No one really cares. And the fourth and the last mantra is that if you want to really make a large-scale digital transformation successful, one thing which really becomes biggest bottleneck is something called change management or resistance to change. So people really resist. All of us would resist to change. We are asked to move from one platform. My favorite example is we move from an Android to maybe or a Windows laptop to a Mac or vice versa. We really feel kind of issues for first few days. So over here in a large-scale digital transformation, people are used to working in a particular way for many, many years. So there'll be a lot of resistance. So you need to focus a lot on change management because any digital transformation is not about technology. Putting technology is the easiest part of the entire thing. It is about fundamentally how people change, how they will work, and it is really effective change management is very, very crucial for ensuring that people adopt. And for that, 3-4 things that you can do. Number one, don't think that I'm so smart, I have such a good grip, my MD, my CEO has sent this mail, he addressed the people, so there'll not be any resistance to change. No. Please always anticipate and address all the potential resistance to change. And one of the key things over there that you can do is communicate. So you need to proactively communicate the reasons for the time, because people want to hear. There are people who are scared. They don't know what's going to hit them. So you need to have huge amount of communication. Communication is the biggest and most powerful tool from change management perspective. Another thing that you need to do is huge focus on training and support for the people if you want these large-scale digital transformation projects to succeed. Because if you don't provide training, you think that you have done or you are not providing enough support, people will either start taking shortcuts or they do only that part which is bare minimum, rest everything they'll continue to the work the way they have been. And the last piece over here is that it is not an IT project, as I said. You need to ensure visible, active leadership support if any large-scale project, digital transformation project has to succeed. So these are the 4 mantras. So just to conclude, as all of us in our organization are expected to drive large-scale transformations, we really need to put in that high-performance culture. And also, while doing all this, we need to focus on our own professional growth. So I gave you 4 mantras for professional growth. Regularly update your knowledge, have strong work ethics, positive attitude, and a real strong foundational principles of respect, humility, as we spoke earlier, empathy, and integrity. 4 mantras I gave you on the high performance culture. Team bonding is very, very important. Team development is important. The teams have to be empowered. If the teams do not have that empowerment, they will never be able to work. Have regular communication with your teams. And in all this, allow them to take risks. Give them that psychological safety that kuch ho gaya, main sambhal lunga. That kind of thing that you need to do. And that's once people know that they have your back, and if anything goes wrong, as a leader, you'll take care of that. That really helps people to take all those things. And finally, from large-scale digital transformations, the 4 mantras I gave you was have strategic vision, have an agile and adaptive approach, build a culture of data-driven decision-making, and focus on change management. So these are the things that I discussed with you. So thank you very much. I'm open to all the questions. Over to you, Pranav. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot, Vijay. It was you captured so much of wisdom in 15-20 minutes. So that's very, very remarkable. So thank you for that. And I will say 2 things. One, that I have known you for about 20 years. So you do walk the talk, because, when you speak about humility and empathy, I've seen that in action with you, on many occasions in the past. So that's one. Second, you spoke about the desire to learn, or, and the fact that we have 150 people on this call, they could be doing other things at this time. So that does show the desire to learn. So it's very heartening to see that trait, so many people possess. So with that, let me jump into some questions. There's a question from Vishwadeep Sharma. He asked, how do we deal with a resistant person who's never available in any incident, but especially at odd hours, but they do their normal job in office. So they are regular employees, but they don't stress themselves, go beyond the minimum required to work. How do you deal with such people?
So I think number one, I think this is reality. So while we may be 150 people, maybe those who are wanting to have a high professional growth and all those things, there could be many others who don't want to grow. They are happy with the way the life is. Okay, that's reality, and we have to live with it. Only thing what we can do as leaders is first understand that is there anything in our domain which is leading to their demotivation? Is it that we are not treating them well? Is it that we are not humble? Is it that we are not treating them with respect? Is it that we have never even given them any kind of training So that guy has not been promoted for last 4 years because he's feeling so bad over there, so demotivated. He says, "ठीक है, यहाँ कुछ होना तो है नहीं है."
Mhm.
So there we need to, when we have these, so we need to actually kind of analyze that person and divide what are the things which are in my control because of which I can motivate that person. And if there are things, we should do that. If there are certain things which are not in our control, actually we can't do anything beyond that, then maybe we have to change that person.
Correct. Yeah. And if they had positive attitude, they'll probably themselves push themselves to go beyond the constraints that they face in the
So
environment.
there are a lot of times what I've seen in my own teams is that there are a lot of people who want to work, who have all the positive attitude, but they feel demotivated, demoralized, either because of, most of the times, because of their boss or due to some other reasons. And
Correct.
if you address those reasons, that, okay, I wanted to come at a manager level because all my classmates are manager. You took me at an assistant manager or a deputy manager level.
Correct.
So I was better than in class, always in my earlier organization, but you are paying them more at a higher. I feel demotivated. I'll not pick your call. Kar lo jo karna hai. So those are real situations that happen.
Correct. Correct. And it's possible to solve some of them, some
Yes.
of the times. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Great point. Another question from Sayaji Rao. It's
Yeah.
about large-scale transformation initiatives. They may require many times a top-down approach as opposed to, departmental approach. But, right resources and budget can be a challenge many times. So first of all, top-down versus departmental and bottom-up, that's one part of the question. And the second is about budgets and resources. How do you deal with such challenges?
Saji knows all these things. So I know what Saji went through in many of the projects. So it's coming straight from heart, the question. So there are two things. Number one, if it's a real large-scale digital transformation, and if there's no top-down approach, it's just a lip service that's being done by top management. So even if you, so there's no point in doing this. Okay. Number two, a large-scale digital transformation can never be a departmental project because it will involve changes in the way you work, maybe in your policies, in your processes, cross-departmental working, workflows, everything could change potentially. So it can't be just a departmental that, okay, production department feels that I have done this, and that's a large-scale digital transformation because production department might have to work with purchase, might have to work with various other people. And they then say, no, we will continue to work the way we were working. Then the entire project would fail. And third piece, which Saji spoke about, is the budget. To my mind, I'm very clear. If the budget is not coming, that means your top management is not interested in this project. They are just saying it for sake of saying. Kya main karna hai? Because if we are not getting money in the organization, so number one, either we don't have money and we're just doing lip service, or lot of times it is that they do not see the value in what you are proposing. So where as individuals, as managers, IT managers, we need to go back and really realize, are we demonstrating the value right? I want to do an ERP implementation and I say, no, ERP implementation will help you do this. All your sales, finance, these functions will get integrated. So fine. But what is the value to the company? So if I'm spending X rupees, what is the ROI? Am I really able to demonstrate that? So a lot of times, many of these projects where we feel that we are not getting budget, the real reason also is that we are not able to demonstrate the real value of that project. Because if I look from a CEO perspective or a promoter perspective, they'll be happy to put in money where they are getting a better ROI.
Correct. They could set up a new factory or a new production unit, or as opposed to a new big, project in technology.
Correct.
So, yeah, at their level, the options are many. It's not just within technology, but technology and other business priorities.
Whatever gives them maximum ROI, you'll put your money there.
Correct. Yeah. And the next question relates somewhat to what you just said. It's about how do you convince a traditional board to invest in cybersecurity? And the question is from Rakesh Ketan.
How do we tell them to invest in cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity. Yes.
I think, to my mind, what I have seen over last couple of years is that it is the boards that are pushing that please do something on cybersecurity, and many of the CISOs are not able to come beyond a normal SIM, SOX, or whatever, or a EDR, XDR. They can't really go beyond that, number one. Because all these board members also realize that if there's a breach, their own reputation is also on stake.
Correct.
They are also liable.
Legally liable.
They are also liable. So, if we are, there are times when they are not convinced. I also know that there are a lot of times when they are not convinced on cybersecurity. Because perhaps if you dispassionately analyze that, it's a tough answer that I'll give. Maybe they are not really sure on the competence that whether we'll be able to deliver.
Yeah. And they're looking for outcomes, not technology.
They are looking for outcome.
Our business safe and how safe we are.
So, actually, till around 5 years back, it was difficult. I tend to agree that it is difficult to convince them on cybersecurity because it was always treated like a additional expense. But today, things have changed in a lot of boards.
Correct. Yeah. But so projecting the horror scenario, is that a good approach? Let's say if a board is not really convinced, talking about the worst case scenario of breaches and the potential loss and so on and so forth. So the threat, is that a better approach to trying to convince boards or educating them about the need for it and so on?
I think education is the best approach. Education is the best approach because that's a long-term impact. So, for example, have sessions on cybersecurity in terms of what are the global cybersecurity trends. I was just reading a report, I think today or yesterday. So it said that globally the top two from a CISO and a CEO survey, the top two threats was one was ransomware and second was supply chain threat. And then there was cybersecurity threats which are later. We need to really educate the boards on those kind of things, not just about that keep your password as 10 characters or make it into this and all. That's required. But over and above that, from running the business perspective, you need to educate on a lot other things, what's happening globally on cyber threat intelligence and those kind of things.
Yeah. And you spoke about ROI some time back. ROI is a hard financial metric. This from CFO, CEO, the board, everyone really understands. It's a common language of business. But there are many cases when it's not possible to demonstrate ROI. Now, for example, if you're trying to, customer satisfaction or innovation and so on and so forth, how do you justify such investments for which it's very hard to calculate, a reasonably sound ROI?
I think let me give you an example over here first, and then I'll answer your question. So I'm talking of maybe 25 years back. Okay. So those are the days when ERP was kind of just coming into India. Or we had a couple of companies which had ERP, but ERP was, even today, it's considered one of the most expensive initiative that a company takes. But at that time, it was real big because your IT budgets were very, very low. And the point on ROI, and that actually also a lot of time it comes back to the quality of board that you have. Okay. And similar, there are various other examples that I have in my life, but I'll give you one. So when I, along with a couple of other people, went to the board, a particular board member, not entire board, but a particular board member, we went and said that this is the expense, which is way beyond the normal IT budget for the year, many, many times of the annual IT budget. And he said, Milega kya? So while we gave our typical gyan, whatever we had heard from consultants and the vendors and all that, he said, okay, just hold on. I just wanted to ask you that question for sake of asking. For me, an ERP is like a highway where I'm building a road from this place to this place. And I know that over the next 20 years, my company will really run on that. And if the road is bumpy, I will never be able to run fast. So for the growth of my company, I need this ERP, and that's ROI for me. That's one. That's a real evolved board member.
Correct. You're lucky to have such a board member.
Yeah. So I always keep that particular thing in my mind. But at the other end, yes, ROI becomes difficult, but there are times what I have seen, the CRM project that example you gave, I have done a ROI CRM project. It was done in a very simplistic fashion, no complicated jargon. There used to be no AI models those days. So our head of sales and marketing, you have met him, will not name the person. So he actually said in that meeting that my X percentage of my sales for this year, I am actually attributing to this particular software. Otherwise, we would not have gotten that particular sales. If we grew at say 10%, so I'm assuming I'm putting numbers, random numbers. So if we grew at 10%, he said 8% my team did, but the additional 2% came from them. Otherwise, we would have not grown. I can tell you. He told the board.
Yeah.
And that was the ROI of the CRM. That okay, the 2% of whatever the growth and the profit attached to that is the ROI. So there are times when ROI may not be direct measure, it could be indirect.
Correct. But that also speaks to a great relationship with your colleagues in other functions. Otherwise, they won't contribute.
Otherwise, they'll say, ये तो बर्बादी है, चल ही नहीं रहा, कुछ नहीं है, वैसे ही आगे IT वाले करके चले गए.
Yeah, fair enough. Another interesting question, mentorship. That's your current, passion. You do mentorship for an employee and, they benefit from it, but then they leave the company after they upgrade their, skills and all of that. How do you deal with such cases?
They leave the company.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah.
They help the entire society to grow.
Correct.
I see one of my biggest personal thing, which was not part of this agenda, but one of my personal things that I really like is that in today's country, in India today, there's so many CIOs who at a point in time either reported to me or were mentored by me or they continue to be mentored. I see they're happy. So that particular company might lose, but the society gains a lot. And why that now, the second piece is why the company has lost. Maybe we were not able to give that opportunity. Maybe there were other issues.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people would not have left.
Yeah.
So companies also need to introspect.
Yeah.
But that should not stop people from mentoring or developing your teams.
That's right. Yeah. And many times what goes around comes around. I mean, it's very common nowadays for companies to have alumni relations, programs, and
you become their brand ambassadors for life.
Right. And they come back many times. So they may join, your larger ecosystem somewhere and be your friend, as it were, which itself has a lot of value.
Correct.
Another question, which is very brass tacks and very, and both as your HR role as well as IT, you would have thought about it. One major constraint in motivating people is the bell curve and cap on promotions. Those are some constraints put in place by the management. How do you motivate people in such?
See, April, May, especially May, because April is the time when you do the appraisal. May, June is the hardest time for all bosses.
Yeah. Because
you have this constraint of bell curve, and then there's a 10%, 14% cap on the promotions. So that becomes, because all 100% of employees think that they need to be promoted. All 100% of employees think that if it's a scale of 1 to 5, they need to be rated either 4 or 5. No, look from other side. Now, let me give the HR part. While as an employee, I would feel that, and maybe justifiable. But what happens to the organization structure tomorrow? If everyone is growing every year or every alternate year, suddenly after 5 years, you'll have 20 vice presidents.
Yeah, which is not very uncommon in some banks.
Yeah, no, but for a normal organization, it becomes
correct. Yeah, absolutely.
Because in the organization where you have tons of them, they actually are just designations given to them. The roles could be still a manager or deputy manager.
Yeah.
Now, for me, promotion is when your role really gets to the next level.
Correct. It's not just about the title.
Yeah. So actually, say for example, we have 5 network managers. You can't have every 2 years and then after 4th year, you have 10 people who are kind of equivalent of head of networks or head of infrastructure. You can't have.
Yeah.
No.
And in a growing economy, there are opportunities elsewhere. So even if they leave, for example, as the previous questioner asked,
all companies would have same. वहां पे आप जाओगे, after 1 year, you'll face the same problem.
Right. Yeah.
I think, to my mind, that may not be the right expectation that everyone is at 4 or 5.
Mhm.
Everyone wants a promotion every year, alternate year. So bell curve, lot of companies went away from bell curve. That's reality. Lot of companies went away from bell curve and came back to bell curve. That's also a reality of country. I'm talking India only.
Yeah.
But that's a debate that has been going on for ages.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I think there are other ways to motivate people. I mean, whether it's, special projects or, added responsibility, rotation through other parts of the organization and so on.
Correct.
Those may be things one can leverage while someone waits for a turn to be promoted.
True.
Another question is about the risk to the IT organization because it's hard to retain people, especially young people. There are many things that they look for: culture, monetary benefits, and so on. And sometimes to respond to that, people outsource their IT, and that creates its own risk because then you become dependent on a provider, and there's no documentation and so on. So how do you deal with these risks? Again, it's a
So
question. Size it out.
talent management, talent acquisition, talent retention are the biggest risks that IT companies today are facing.
Mhm.
We'll have to face it, live with it. There'll be people who would come to you, spend some time. You may feel they are your best employees, but and it may not be because they are demotivated or that they are not happy with the company, but they will leave because they want to do something else in life.
Yeah.
Okay. So that lot of times I can't attribute that they're leaving is because of the organizational things.
Mhm.
It could be their own personal things.
Yeah.
So one has to live with it. Outsourcing is an option, but as you rightly said, it has its own pluses and minuses or risks associated with that. So, as I see, these are realities of life, and one has to live with it.
Yeah.
And each company, each manager comes with his or her own plans for that. And the way you work. See, first 10 years, when I was in a particular company, there's zero attrition. 9 years, zero attrition. But then you never know. Maybe I was lucky. Maybe the company had few things, or maybe I was giving few things to the team. Either way, it's a combination of all the guys were so good that they were getting whatever they wanted to.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's a reality that talent is an issue.
Live with. Yeah, one has to live with that and try and manage it because you can't
Manage.
entirely. That's right. One final question, if I may. Can you think of the biggest setback in your career and what did that teach you? What were your learnings from that?
Not just one, there are a lot of setbacks that would have happened in life. So I won't claim that they wouldn't setbacks.
I mean, it's a career, not life. I mean, purely from the career perspective.
Career. Let me give you one example of, since we spoke about large scale digital transformation project, let me talk about one of these projects. Career, no career, let's keep career out in this. So since we are talking of so we were doing a particular project. So where we had to, we're very happy that, okay, things are going fine. It's one of the largest IT projects in the country. Okay. And in 1 year or 8 months, we'll do this part. It's a 2-3 year project. We'll reach this particular level. But after 6-8 months, we feel that we are actually not going anywhere. Whereas we were expected to be kind of go live or do the first POC or pilot, whatever we may call it. But they're nowhere. So that was kind of a setback. But then we actually went back to the drawing board, changed a lot of assumptions in that, and said, instead of doing this, can we do this? And finally, that became a real big success in the project and the country and in the company. But that for those few weeks, few months is one of the biggest setbacks. One had never imagined that any project that you start with such a big fanfare would suddenly be at a stage where you don't know where to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And the lesson is that you should always check your assumptions or challenge your assumptions.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things which I said, agile and adaptive, that was coming from the learnings. That we actually then changed the entire project plan. We said, we are not even doing it this way. We are doing it very differently. And finally, the new thing worked.
Yeah. Fantastic. So I think we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of issues we covered. We could have gone on for another 1 hour easily.
I know.
It's always a limitation of time. So we'll have to draw this session to a close. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of everyone. You may have seen there are, at least a dozen comments about this being an excellent session, which people benefited from. So many thanks to you for that, Vijay.
No,
And
thank you very much to you for inviting me. Thank you very much to all these guys who have put in so many nice comments over here. So I'm so happy reading all this while as you were talking, I was reading many of these. So thank you everyone for all this.
Yeah.
And thank you to YDMA for giving me this opportunity. I
yes,
know
so
Abhishek had done a lot of homework.
hard work in the background.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so thank you, Abhishek, for this. And thank you to you, Pranav, and to Umesh, and to everyone else for this.
Yes, thank you. And again, to everyone on this call, YDMA is an initiative to groom the future leaders in technology in India. So if you're not a member at the moment, please write to us to become a member. And if you would like one of your direct reports to become a member, again, please reach out to us. It's a great initiative which will help them in their careers and, of course, indirectly, then your organizations as well. So with that, we are 1 minute overdrawn. So I'll draw the session to a close now. And thanks, Vijay, again, and see you all at the next session.